Another dividend creator misleading their readers. Quote, another $750 from O Realty Income today. This is after almost a decade of stacking shares in my long-term dividend portfolio. Best part is next month, this time, another $750. A dividend is not free money. It comes out of the business. The value of the business declines by the amount of the dividend paid. On the left-hand side, before the dividend is paid, the value is the full black line. After the dividend's paid, you still have the same value. The white portion is the dividend that you are paid, and the remainder stays in the company. Studies looking at the average dividend paid by some of the biggest companies on the S&P 500 show that it's actually worse than 1-to-1. It's easier to understand if a company spits out $1 that the business value goes down by $1, but it's actually worse. It goes down by $1.15. Dividend investors like to say that they're not selling, but they are selling. They're selling their growth. An investor's return always has two components, the cash flow and the appreciation. Dividends represent cash flow. Appreciation is how much the price of the shares went up. Looking at this Realty Income Corp, you can see that the price has not moved for over half a decade. The dividends come at the cost of the appreciation. You are selling off your growth in order to get paid. Dividend investors are selling. They just don't want to recognize it. Another misleading post by a dividend investor. What else is new? Quote, Voo boys, when I tell them I don't want to wait 30 years to live off my investments. For those who don't know, VOO is an S&P 500 index ETF. It's denominated in US dollars. Warren Buffett has already debunked this. You don't need to wait 30 years to show a difference between the two. Warren Buffett explained this years ago in his shareholder letter. His portfolio has a dividend yield of 2%, similar to an index ETF. A 2% dividend yield. Warren Buffett is not a dividend investor. He invests for total return. He's said it many times. He mentioned 4 big problems with investing for dividends and suggests an alternative called the sell-off alternative. First, you get to choose how much you want. If you only need $10, you don't get a forced distribution of 15. You just get the 10 you want. You also don't need to sell it. There is no forced distribution. If you want to keep it in the company, you keep it there. There's no frictional cost. Second are tax considerations. You might get a dividend tax rate, but when you're selling, you're only paying tax on the capital gain, not on the whole amount, only the tax on the gain. Warren Buffett's sell-off method is more tax efficient. The very best a dividend investor can hope for is matching a low-fee index ETF invested for total return minus fees, commission, and tax. Warren Buffett then goes on to say this is exactly what he does and how he's able to give increasing billions amounts to charity and still end up richer over time. Dividend investors do not end up richer over time. Again, you are selling future growth in order to get cash flow now. They literally admit this. Quote, I could not care less if my retirement portfolio is worth $500,000 or $2 million. I care. I would rather have $2 million, not $500,000. Quote, I rarely track changes in my net worth and only look at my portfolio results at the end of the year. Dividend investing is emotional investing. As long as they can cover their expenses, they do not care if they get poorer over time, which many of them do. I'm not saying to invest for companies that don't pay a dividend. All companies have cash that they can't use effectively to grow the business, so they pay it out. The point is you don't invest for dividends. You don't just focus on the cash flow portion of the total return. You don't just say dividend, dividend, dividend. What happened to my total return? I don't care as long as I'm paying my expenses. That's just silly. It's very clear dividend investors are selling. They just don't want to recognize that they're selling future growth. They just want to say, I didn't sell any shares. Who cares? Your shares went nowhere. You sold the growth already just to get the payout. Dividend investors are literally inadvertently or intentionally misleading people. Both are bad. Learn the lessons about money that dividend investors literally don't know. Download my free newsletter linked off the bio. Good luck. Take care.